Dire team ban.
Good
Radiant
afternoon,
team
ladies
ban.
and gentlemen. I'm your host, Saint D from
Dire
EE
team
Gaming,
ban.
and we have ourselves Warriors at Rampage versus Sector 4 Vanguard, and it's one of the breakthrough playoff matches
Radiant
in the
team
TGL.
ban.
Hopefully we have what promises to be an explosive game. They're already flying through the ban picks phase, and standard fare coming out from
Dire team pick.
Warriors with the Lycan and Death Prophet ban. It's very clear from the bans that they don't want to be dealing with push. Now coming out from Sector 4 Vanguard, the Doom ban pretty much
Radiant
standard
team
fare,
pick.
but the Viper ban,
Radiant
not usually
team
what you
pick.
see being banned out in the very first phase, but it clearly signals something that they have planned that might not work very well against the Viper. And
Dire
Warriors
team
picking up
pick.
the Shadow Shaman first in their picking phase, a very
Dire team ban.
versatile support, and then they pick
Radiant
up the
team
Mirana second,
ban.
and then we've got Void coming out with the Sand King.
Dire
Now,
team ban.
I would say Warriors at Rampage have a little bit more flexibility in what they have. The Mirana could be support, could be a core going up in the mid lane, the off lane, or the safe lane. With the Shadow Shaman, they have access to push, they have access to team fight,
10
they have
seconds
disables
remaining.
galore. The Faceless Void and the Sand King, now that's definitely
Radiant
an
team
avenue into
ban.
fighting. And Warriors at Rampage acknowledge this by banning out the Skyreth Mage and the Brewmaster, because when you have those two coupled up with the Sand King and the Faceless Void, it's too much control
Radiant
going out
team
from
pick.
in terms of what the team fight can offer. And Sector 4 Vanguard banning out what appears to be very good counters for team fight lineups. You don't want to have to deal with Rubik stealing up your core
Dire
spells
team
in the
pick.
Burrow Strike, your Epicenter. You don't want him stealing anything from the Faceless Void, especially the Chronosphere. And then it's essentially Sector 4 pretty much banning
Radiant
out everything
team
that works
pick.
out against team fights. And they pick up the Razor, which works pretty well with the Faceless Void. I think that combination, going back to the past international, that combination was probably among the top 5 picked hero
Dire team
combinations.
pick.
And then Warriors at Rampage have picked up the Invoker. Once again, it's very open where they could be going into. They have access. They still have access to team fight if they're gonna be picking up the Invoker as a Quaspex Invoker. They still have access to pushing with if they go the Quas Exort
10
route.
seconds,
And the big
10
thing is they have a
seconds
lot
remaining.
of access to. They have a lot of
Radiant
access
team
to
ban.
pick off. But over on Vanguard, the Centaur War on a pickup is a great tempo controller, because you've got great engage, you've got great disengage. Essentially, what they have right now is a very
10
mobile
seconds
lineup.
remaining.
Razor being among the very fast heroes. Then
5
you've got
seconds
Sand King who's going to be
remaining.
building the Blink Dagger. You've got
Dire
Faceless Void
team ban.
who's going to be time walking in. You've got Centaur who's going to be blinking and stomping, and in Stampede. And then
Radiant
Warriors at
team
Rampage
pick.
banning out the Ancient Apparition, acknowledging the fact that what Sector 4 Vanguard
Dire
have right now is a
team pick.
very strong team fight lineup. And Wraith King and Warlock being picked up by the respective teams. Warlock is a very risky support to pick up, because Sand King is going to be going into, essentially he's probably going to go into the jungle. And Wraith King being picked up, it still leaves their draft very open. Mirana okay, Mirana's definitely a core, Wraith King's definitely a core, since they have the Disruptor and the Shadow Shaman. So they have a very strong laning support duo. And then Warlock and Sand King is not the strongest lane support duo, especially considering Sand King's going to be trying to more or less farm up his Blink Dagger, and then Centaur Warrunner is going to be trying to farm up his Blink Dagger. So this should be a very interesting
10
early
seconds
game.
remaining.
This should be a very interesting early game, because you've got so
5
much
seconds
potential
remaining.
going out from Warriors Warriors at Rampage's lineup, because they've got access to push, they've got access to pick offs, they've got, looks like we've got a pause, they've got access to push, they've got access to pick off, they've got access to fighting. I mean, they've got decent control. They've got the Disruptor, they've got the Shadow Shamans, Hex, and Shackles, and Mass Serpent Wards should never be underestimated in a team fight lining, in a team fight scenario. And they've got Wraith King. Wraith King, one of those heroes you don't want to have to deal with, because for the first things first, he's going to be in the front lines, tanking, soaking up as much damage as he can. And if he's already past 6, you've got Reincarnation to deal with, and then essentially, and then you look at the Invoker. The Invoker, depending on what he's going for, it could be a Quas Wex or Quas Exort. Essentially, either or. He could be going for push. He could be going for the pick off potential. And then over on S4 Vanguard, they've got strong team fight. They may not have the best push up until a certain point, because they do have the Razor, they do have the Warlock. Warlock's not really the most ideal pusher, but once he's got some levels into chaotic offering, he will be helping with a push. May not be the strongest push, but it certainly is there. But in terms of team fight, they have quite a lot. The Razor's going to be essentially nullifying one of Warrior's damage dealers, and Scully's going to be setting on the Centaur Warrun is going to be setting the tempo for the team fight. So the laning phase is going to be very vital for how this game progresses. In an event, before we get underway or any action takes place, let me introduce the teams. Over on the Radiant S4 Vanguard, we've got Ilols playing up the Faceless Void. We've got Blade Beta playing up the Razor. We've got Blondie playing up the Sand King, and we've got Unicorn Pant playing up the Warlock. And we've got Scully playing up the Centaur Warrun. And over on Warriors at Rampage, on the Dahlia, we've got Rebel playing up the Wraith King. We've got Archaic playing up the Disruptor. We've got X-Ray Cat playing up the Solo Mid Invoker. We've got Pora playing on the support Mirana. No, it's not a support Mirana. No, it's an offlane Mirana. Okay. We've got Jelly playing up the Shadow Shaman, and these are our lineups. So we've got a tri lane pretty much made of
30 seconds.
We've got a
to
tri lane
battle.
made up of War Jelly and Archaic and Rebel on the Wraith King. On the Wraith King, the Shadow Shaman, and the Disruptor. That's actually quite a strong. That's actually a pretty strong support duo. And on top of the fact that they're coupled up with Wraith King as a core,
The battle
it's going to
begins.
be very interesting to see how S4 Vanguard deal with that specific trial. And then over this side, we've got Pora on the offlane Mirana. Now, initially, one might say an offlane Mirana isn't the best offlaner, and that might be true. But I'm not entirely sure this defensive tri lane can really cause her too much trouble, considering that at some point Blondie's going to be leaving the lane, whether it be to pull and get some levels, but he's going to be trying to stack up the camps, making sure that he gets some farm for his blink dagger, because getting his blink dagger is going to be instrumental to how the mid game progresses. And Unicorn Pants on the Warlock. Now Warlock is not the strongest of lane supports in terms of kill potential, unless he's coupled with a solid support. That would be the case with the Sand King, but unfortunately the Sand King is obviously going to be his priority is going to be building up his blink dagger. Oh, looks like Blondie's missing his pulls. That's not ideal. That's not ideal at all, because it's delaying him getting his levels up, because he needs at least 2 levels in the sandstorm to farm up the camps efficiently. But in any case, let's look at the mid lane. We've got Ilols playing up the. Okay, this is very interesting. We've got Ilols on the Void, going mid up against Warcat on the Invoker. Now this matchup should be interesting. I think Warcat should win this, especially considering that he's going for the Exort build. Now he's a ranged hero versus Faceless Void. Faceless Void will survive the lane, but he won't get as much as, or at the very least, Warcat shouldn't allow him to get as much as he may want to. And then over on the top lane, we've got
You get
on the central
nothing.
Warrunner playing up against the Warriors tri-lane. Now he may have a tougher time than the offlane Marana, because that what's happening right now is that the camps are being stacked, and the pull's going to be a little bit more effective. The pull's going to be a little bit more effective, and the support duo coming out from Warriors actually is a little bit better at zoning out offlaners than the Radiant support duo. But yeah, looking at the early CS board, we've got as you'd expect, Rebels leading the pack with 18 for 1, and then closely followed up by the Radiant Razor sitting at 15 for 2, and then Invoker going toe to toe with the Faceless Void. I don't know. I think it surprises me that that these two are going toe to toe, but you would expect Ilos to at the very least get something out of this lane. But I think it's very good for him, considering that he's going, if he's going toe to toe with the Invoker, it might be very good for them going into once the mid game gets kicked off, because the biggest thing for him is that he's going to get his level 6 very quickly, and his level 6 is going to be much more important than X-Ray's level 6s. But yeah, at the moment we've got very quiet lanes. We've got very quiet lanes at the moment. It looks like we've got some right clicks going out onto Bora. At the moment, I'd say quiet lanes favor S4 Vanguard at the moment, because as much as Rebel's getting his farm up, you look over on the Radiant. Razor's getting farm. Faceless Void is going toe to toe, actually beating out X-Ray in the mid lane. So he's getting farm and he's getting levels. That's going to be devastating once the mid game gets underway. And in the meantime, nothing's stopping the Sand King at the moment from getting his levels up. And soon he's going to be farming up the camps and getting his blink dagger. So
Dire's
at the
bottom
moment,
tower
stagnant
is under
lanes
attack.
favor S4 Vanguard, because they kind of have the greedier lineup in terms of what they require to get this started. Looks like we've got an arrow. Whiffs the arrow, more like a zoning arrow, just, or rather scouting. It's quite surprising that Warriors haven't actually committed to blocking some of these camps, knowing that we've got a Sand King on the Radiant. Vanguard have a Sand King. I would have expected at least one of the camps being blocked. But yeah, we've got very quiet lanes, but a very quiet laning phase is going to boil. It's going to get a very explosive mid game started once that gets underway. The Wraith King just picked up a Midas, so he's planning to farm it up even more. I don't know if this is the right. I'm not sure if this is the correct decision to be taking, because when you look over at Vanguard's lineup, they're not necessarily looking to farm up extensively, because their lineup once it gets its 2 blink daggers, and I mean Faceless Void's already got his
Regeneration.
once the blinks come out, they're gonna be up in Warriors' faces. They're gonna get up in their face, and if they're behind, if Warriors are behind by a few items in terms of how they're progressing, then they're gonna have a problem. But then again, on the flip side, if Ilols go into the mid game and play it statically, then I guess the Hand of Midas will be of use. But I doubt they're gonna give them breathing room once they get the momentum that they're looking for. And I mean, you look at the levels right now. If you look at the levels, if you look at the levels, S4 Vanguard is definitely getting better levels, because you look at the Sand King. The Sand King's at 4. You look at the Warlock is at 5. So the supports for one are definitely out leveling the Warriors' support. And then you look at Faceless Void, he's getting his levels up, especially considering he's breaking toe to toe, and to some extent beating the Invoker. So yeah, I don't think that, I don't necessarily agree with the Wraith King's choice in going for the Hand of Midas. But we will see what happens, what S4 Vanguard decides to do once the mid game gets underway, because they're essentially going to dictate how the game's going to go. But on the flip side, Warriors have the ability to dictate how this goes, because they've got a lot of pick of potential, especially now that the Invoker's going Quas. Oh, alright,
Methinks you wanted that.
So he's going to be questioning his involvement across the map, because he's definitely not going to be trying to get off the global.
Dire's bottom
global
tower
ganks
is
with the
under
Sunswipes.
attack.
But yeah, they still have quite some decent pick off potential. They've got the Shaman and the Mirana and the Disruptor. So that's a pretty strong pick off lineup, and the Wraith King included, who now has his reincarnation leveled up.
Dire's bottom
quiet
tower
lanes.
is under attack.
I actually worry for
Dire's
for
structures are
Warriors
fortified.
if the lanes are this quiet, and we've already got this tier 1 being dealt a massive amount of damage. I mean, it's almost done. It's not quite down to deny range yet, but it's definitely gonna fall. And you've got a lineup that has 2. Okay, to be fair, they have a Wex Invoker instead of an Exort Invoker going for 4.
Radiant's middle tower
So
is under attack.
I'd say essentially the Jelly on the Shaman is actually their only pusher. We've got a TP coming in. Looks like they may be preparing to go for a gank. We've got Moonlight Shadow.
Invisibility.
Do they know this is happening? Ooh, Blade Beta. Blade Beta's probably in no man's land. There they triangulate around him. We've got a shackle going out onto Blade Beta. There goes the chaotic offering. But first blood goes to the Shadow Shaman.
To the great gone by.
And just like that, they get their gank off and they get out cleanly as ever. And now the Warlock has actually wasted a chaotic offering. So now if they want to commit to a push, they could actually commit to a push. But yeah,
Dire's
First Blood
bottom
goes the
tower
way
is
of
under attack.
Warriors. That was a clean gank, but you have to consider that the Invoker also left his lane.
Dire's
The
bottom
Invoker
tower
left his
has
lane,
fallen.
and wow, and just like that, they've lost their tower, so they got a gank off. But were they really better
Dire's
off
bottom tower is under
with that
attack.
gank, considering that their tier 1 bot has actually fallen? Ooh, looks like Scully's gonna fall. There goes the glimpse, but since Ilol's back,
Who spoiled that shot?
we've got a healing word going out. But yeah, they're
Radiant's
getting
middle
some decent
tower is
pick-offs
under
right
attack.
now, but I feel like they're committing too many resources to getting single pick-offs. Because you look at the map, and it's telling an interesting story. But yeah, it looks like they're gonna commit to a push. We've got 3 committing to a push.
Yes.
Ooh, we've got an arrow connecting on Unicorn Pants. There goes your kinetic field. Unicorn Pants is definitely gonna fall. Ilols will probably fall as well. We've got to stop going out. Followed up by
You
Stampede.
have learned nothing.
The Serpent Wards are fallen as well. It looks like Pora will probably fall with the Eye of the Storm being propped.
Radiant
And
structures are
It's a
fortified.
2-for-2 engagement, but it's 2 cores for 1 core and a support. We've got the EMP in Tornado falling.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Ooh, Shadow
Radiant's
Shaman
top tower
Shadow
has
Shaman
fallen.
gets the kill. They tried to sneaky deny there, but the wards took the last hit.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Well, they got the tower. Initially, it was a 2-for-2 engagement favoring Vanguard, since they lost 1 core and 1 support versus getting 2 cores. But with the tower going down, I'd say it's more of an even trade. But you have to consider there's a fuse currently ticking out over on Vanguard's side, and that is the Sand King. The Sand King almost getting blink. Centaur's almost got his blink. I think it was actually a very good decision coming out from
Radiant's
X-Ray
bottom
to go
tower is under attack.
to go for the Quas Wix build. Because if a team fight starts off with you, Tornado EMP,
Swifter than ever.
Dire's
your
middle
Tornado
tower
EMP
is under
combo,
attack.
You've got a kinetic field, catches Scully, the arrow misses. Looks like we've got an ether shock going on from Scully, but he's so tanky. There goes your Chronosphere, catches 3, but Scully in the background's getting lost. There goes your epicenter whiffs. We got a chaotic offering. But the chaotic offering is going to be dropped just for the sake of taking the tower. If they take the tower, losing Scully on the Centaur War Run will kind of be worth it. We've got an ether shock catching out Blondie. Blondie may fall.
Dire's middle tower has
Oh,
fallen.
we've got the stun catching him. There goes your kinetic field. Only catches Unicorn Pants in the background. Okay, it's going to fall to the Razor.
This will only hurt forever.
We've got a Stampede running out just to secure their escape. But yeah, they lost two in that engagement.
Radiant's top
and they got the
tower is
tower,
under
they
attack.
got the disruptor. It looks like Vanguard is fine to be taking these. It looks like they don't have a problem with taking these exchanges. The question is, because these exchanges aren't necessarily going in their favor, because they keep losing Scully, for example. They keep losing. They just lost the Sand King in that particular team fight. So yes, they're getting towers, and they're kind of sitting a tower ahead of. They're kind of sitting a tower ahead of Warriors. But they have to remember that Warriors kind of has a better
Dire's
pusher
bottom tower is under
at the
attack.
very least early on, until Razor gets his Aghanims online. Then it's obviously a different story, because
Dire's bottom tower is under
I'd
attack.
say they would also be on equal footing in terms of what they can get. But now, a game changer.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Centaur has his Blink Dagger, and we've got the Serpent Wards being dropped down to take down the tier 1 mid. We've got a
Dire's
Tornado
top
going
tower
out,
is under attack.
and they get
Radiant's
the deny
middle tower
off.
has been denied.
That's a great deny, considering that the Serpent Wars were committed for that. Yeah, as long as they can if they
Invisibility.
can stop out the if they can reduce the amount of gold that Warriors is getting in the team fights. Ooh, we've got an inverse Morana. Ilols is he's getting eerily close to that Morana, but he backs off. If Morana goes in forward, she's in for a nasty surprise, because there is, we've got an EMP going out. There goes a Chronosphere, catches two X-rays, and he's in a world of trouble. There goes the Stampede. Idols actually drops. We've got the Chaotic Offering going. We've got Morana falling to the double H, but not before she drops the Moonlight Shadow to secure the escape for her teammates. Yeah, I'd say that was an okay exchange, but they can't keep losing. They can't keep losing the Void they can't lose the Void in this manner, because he's already sitting at 0 for 2 right now on his skill score. Now the question is, what does the goal graph says? The goal graph is telling an interesting tale. Right now we've got a 2k lead going in favor of Warriors, and we've got roughly almost a 3k lead going in favor of Warriors. So in terms of what they're getting out of the map, they're actually being a little bit more efficient. They're actually being a little bit more efficient. I'd say I'd put that down to Blade Beta not putting enough pressure on them. Lucky regen room, looks like
Regeneration.
and going into the items. It looks like Unicorn is going to be their mech holder. I'm not sure if I agree with that.
Radiant's
because-
bottom tower
because
is
that
under
means-
attack.
That means a delayed mech, and they're going to lose tier 1 bot, as the Serpent Wards are actually committed to that.
Radiant's bottom
They
tower
can't
has
keep giving away
fallen.
towers like that. They don't defend towers. They're gonna have their farming territory choked out. And if you choke out the farming territory of a Void, his usefulness is kind of questionable going into the mid game and early stages of the late game. But yeah, the big thing is they have their two the storyline for S4 Vanguard right now is they have their two Blink initiation avenues. They've got the Blink Sand King, they've got the Blink Centaur, and they've got the Stampede coming out from the Centaur. So they have their avenues of initiation, and looks like Sand King is getting some smoke. So they recognize the fact that they now
Radiant's
have
top tower
all
is
their
under
avenues
attack.
of initiation. They've got the Chronosphere up, and and Blade Beta is almost, he's halfway through getting his Aghanim Scepter. But it's not going to be that easy. I mean, Warriors have great disengaged. For the mere fact that X-Ray went the mere fact that X-Ray went he went the Wex build. That means Tornado EMP is always going to be a problem. And in a lineup that has strong team fight, you have to worry about that. And I mean, it's not like their team fight is actually any weak. I mean, they've got a kinetic field, they've got a static storm, which is great against team fights. Looks like we've got a smoke coming out from S4 Vanguard. The question is, are they gonna get anything out of it? Ooh, looks like we've got a tornado catching the Warlock, and the smoke rotation is wasted. I think Warriors will be happy with that because Pora is still getting farm, and to an extent, if I look at the levels right now, there's relatively an even distribution. There's relatively an even distribution, I guess. But yeah, these smoke rotations, if they're not getting anything done, they play into their hands of. Ooh, looks like we've got an arrow catching Blade Beta. Looks like we've got an EMP as well. Catches to Blade Beta's out of mana. There goes your your static storm catches no one, bro. You've got a 3-man
Dire's
storm.
top tower is under attack.
You've got Moonlight Shadow proccing.
Out of reach.
Hex onto Scully. You've got a Wraithfire Blast catching the Faceless Void right now. Oh, Unicorn Pants is in no man's land. You've got a Stomp going on
Dire's
onto
top
Rebel.
tower is under
And
attack.
they disengage. So nothing gained, nothing lost. In theory, nothing gained, nothing lost. But every time they go into
Dire's
a fight
top
and they
tower
don't get
is under
anything done,
attack.
that's a win for Warriors right now because they're farming more efficiently, they're pushing out the lanes more efficiently, and it looks like they're gonna try and sneak in a Roche. I mean, if I look at the net worth right
I
now,
could have hit Roshan
Rebel
with my eyes
is
closed.
booming right now. Nobody put any pressure. I mean, they should have recognized the fact that Rebel actually had the hand of Midas. But now
Dire's
that
top
there hasn't
tower
been
has
any
been denied.
efforts to slow down his farm, he's getting away with so much. He's getting so much farm.
Roshan
And now
has fallen to the Dire.
They've got the Aegis Gold. They've got the Aegis. Ooh, they're looking a little bit scary right now.
Regeneration.
They're actually looking a little bit scary. And it looks like he's gonna get an AC soon enough. Looks like we've got a tornado catching Blondie. We've got Cold Snap going out. Kinetic Field catches him, and he's definitely gonna fall. Ooh, great pick off coming out from Warriors there. Great pick off. So they've got a pick off. They've got the Roche. They have this game in their grasp right now. They have this. They have a decent lead right now. I mean, you look at the gold graph. The gold graph says 5K in their favor. The XP graph says the same thing. You've got a Cold Snap going out onto Blade Beta. Will it amount to anything there? We've got the glimpse going out. We've got the Hex, the Kinetic Field, and he's definitely gonna fall. We've got the Stampede, but it's not enough to secure his escape. Ooh, Stomp whiffs just as the Moonlight Shadows proc. So they get out there untouched. Yeah, Warriors is playing a very clever game. Looks like we've got a Wraithfire Blast followed up by the arrow catching Blondie, and he's gonna fall to the Wraith King.
Another subject for the Wraith
And
King.
it's pick off after pick off. That's the one thing this lineup is very strong at. The pick off potential is quite strong. And if Vanguard don't come up with a concrete plan in terms of getting this game back in control, because right now they're
Radiant's
losing
middle
grasp
tower
of this
is under
game, and
attack.
they're losing grasp very fast. We've got a Stomp. Oh, just in time. We've got the Orchid proccing. There goes the Chronosphere catching 4. But it also catches the Golem. But in any case, the Shadow Shaman got killed.
Radiant's middle
Rebels
tower has
fighting up
fallen.
with Blade Beta. And he proxies Reincarnation. And right now we've got a Wraithfire Blast catching Blade Beta. We've got a Blink in Plasma Field catching out the Invoker. Oh, Blondie's trying to man fight. We've got Ilols time locking the Mirana. And in the backline, Rebels takes down the Centaur. Ilols will probably fall as a Wraithfire Blast catches him. He falls. Blondie's in no man's land. If he gets glimpsed, he'll probably fall. Blondie gets killed, and unfortunately, the Stampede coming out from Centaur Warrunner was just too late. So many good exchanges coming out from Warriors. They only lost the Invoker in that exchange. Ooh, they lost the Invoker and the Shadow Shaman, but I'd say that's a win because they got the Razor, they got the Razor, they got the Sand King, they got the Faceless Void, and this is after Faceless Void caught 4 in his Chronosphere. So yeah, they've got a pretty keen grasp of the game right now. I think right now S4 Vanguard need to regroup because their lineup, the problem with their lineup is it's a one-trick pony. It's a one-trick pony that focuses merely on team fights. And unfortunately, the pickoffs and the towers that Warriors secured, they have a decent XP and gold lead to be ahead by a few items, to be ahead by a few levels, and that literally means their team fight is actually stronger than what S4 Vanguard has at the moment. And if your lineup that focus purely on team fight is losing team fights to a lineup that has pick-off potential, that has team fight potential, that has pushing potential, you've got a problem, because the moment you lose a team fight, that means you're going to be losing objectives. A tower's going to fall down to the serpent wards. Invokers, essentially, the moment you lose a team fight, you're losing at least one tower. Even a pick-off could mean you losing one tower, and unfortunately, even when you win a team fight with the deficit you're dealing with right now, it essentially it doesn't mean that you can actually translate a team fight win into a tower, because you don't have the best pushes. Although Razor does have his Ags now, so it can translate into objectives. You got a plasma field going out. The arrow catches Blondie, and it's a 4-5 second arrow. There goes the EMP.
Radiant's
Blondie's
bottom
definitely gonna
tower
fall.
is under attack.
Okay, he's under the guise of the sandstorm, but he's definitely gonna fall. We've got a static link going out to Rebel, but it's disjointed. And we've got a kinetic storm. We've got a static
Radiant's
storm.
bottom tower has fallen.
There goes the chaotic offering. Ilos is gonna fall. Scully may fall. Arrow catches Unicorn Pants, definitely gonna fall. Blade Beta may fall. Ray 5 Blast catches him and he's fall. And he falls. We've got a buyback coming out from the Sand King. That's a 4-for-1 exchange. And it cost them a buyback as well.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
And they could lose their tier 3. They could lose their tier 3.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Fortunately for them, they're dealing with a Wix Invoker, so we don't have the higher level we don't have the higher level. We've got an epicenter catching through, and there's a stomp, and the double edge catches 2 as well, but Scully's gonna fall for his troubles. So does the Sand King.
It was not
And
luck,
that-
but skill.
Radiant's bottom tower
That
has
is
fallen.
the power of the armlet right now. That armlet toggling did so much work, and the reincarnation is proc. But they could even take. We've got
Radiant's
the
bottom
Chronosphere catching
barracks
Korra.
are under
Korra's gonna
attack.
fall to the face
Your
of the void.
page in history
But they could
ends.
lose at the very least the melee racks. Ooh, we've got a static link going on to Rebel. It still goes. He's losing all his damage. Rebels is definitely gonna fall. And that's a mega kill streak going the way of Ilols on the Faceless Void. I think he should have recognized the fact that he had
Radiant's top
he
tower
was
is
on his
under
own
attack.
there. So he should have actually pulled back once they got the tier 3. But yeah, S4 Vanguard still showing life in the game, still showing life, still showing that they line up, still can get things done. But there's a lot of chaos in these fights. There's a lot of chaos in these fights, and these fights are favoring they're favoring Warriors at the moment, because Warriors, the moment you start focusing on the Wraith King, and you have a problem, because you can't ignore him, because he's going to be throwing out Wraith Fire Blasts all over the place. But the moment you kill him, you've got the reincarnation slowing you up, and being slowed up works well into the hands of Moran. It works well into the hands of the Shadow Shaman. It works well into the hands of Invoker. So they've got a lot to do in case in the sense that they don't really have core damage dealers apart from razors, and that's one of the things. That's one of the downsides of putting your Faceless Void in any other position as opposed to the offlane. Looks like Korra is definitely gonna fall. If he got off the correct lead. Looks like we've got a tornado EMP proccing. The Eye of the Storm is going on. There goes a Ray 5 Blast onto Unicorn Pants. We've got a Static Storm catching Squally, and Squally falls as well. Blade Beta is probably going to follow. We've got a Chronosphere catching 3, but it means nothing at the moment because Blade Beta is going to be caught by the shackles, and he's going to fall. A few right clicks are going to secure his death. And it looks like the arrow catches the Void, and that's a 5-man wipe. And with that team fight being won, losing none at all, Warriors essentially, this is their game to lose. Because you look at the net worth graph right now, you look at the net worth, you've got Wraith King who's sitting there with 17k, and that's almost 10k ahead of the Razor. That's almost 10k ahead of the Faceless Void. And if you've got your core, what's supposed to be your core damage dealers being
Radiant's
behind,
bottom barracks are under attack.
what hope do you have of getting back into the game? Because they're going to lose a lane.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
And there's not much they can do. I don't even
Radiant's
think they
bottom
should
barracks
be
has fallen.
trying to fight this. Ooh, we've got a blink stomp that whiffs from Scully. There goes the kinetic field. There goes
You had no
the
answer.
EMP. And just like that, a wasted chaotic offering. We've got a tornado only catching the Void.
Dire's middle
We've got
tower
a glimpse,
is under
but
attack.
it means nothing because he's close to his fountain. But yeah, they've got a very firm grasp of this game right now. And we've got the Serpent Wards. We've got a Chronosphere catching 3. There goes the Plasma Field. Looks like we've got a Power Strike catching 2. And that's 2
Dire's
dead.
middle
That's
tower is
3.
under attack.
Oh, the Wraith King actually has his reincarnate. Pora might fall. Ilols falls to a crit strike. And follows
Radiant's middle
by
tower has fallen.
looks like
Dire's
Blondie's
top
gonna fall
tower is under
as the
attack.
shackles catch him.
Radiant's
But
middle
yeah,
barracks are under
GG for
attack.
this game. GG's called, and they know there's nothing more they can do. We've got a Stampede going out, but there's nothing they could do to get
Radiant's
back into
middle
this
barrack.
game.
Dire victory.
Great game coming out from Warriors to beat out S4 Vanguard. But yeah, this game boiled down to S4 not doing as much as they could once they got their key spells up, once they got their 2 blinks coming out from the Centaur Warrunner and the Sand King. They just didn't do enough, because I mean the Wraith King had himself a hand of Midas, which essentially meant his farm was going to skyrocket if he wasn't stopped. And the idea with S4's Vanguard's lineup is that they had a lineup that was going to get in your face and make sure you're not getting enough farm. But if you're not stopping the Wraith King from farming with his Midas, you're not stopping the Invoker from farming, then you've got a problem, because Invoker got all his key items very soon. You got the Shadow Shaman who got his levels very quickly, and essentially they were beating them out in the team fights, and it just spiraled out of control. But yeah, that was S4 Vanguard versus Warriors, and Warriors took a convincing game, and I mean convincing. They essentially they knew how to make their lineup work for them, because they had avenues into push with the Shadow Shaman and the Invoker. They had avenues into teamfight with the Wraith King and the Mirana and the Disruptor, and they had pick-off potential with essentially the whole lineup. So they knew when to go for pick-offs, when to go for pushes, and when to go for team fights, and that literally meant S4 Vanguard didn't have a shot. Warriors taking it convincingly. And yeah, I'm your host Saint D from EAE Gaming. Follow us at EAE Gaming on Facebook. At Twitter, follow us at Twitter at EAE Gaming. Yeah, that was a great game, guys. That was a very great game.